day. Crowds of people wait for me. Seagulls scavenge still ice cream. Worries vanish within my dream. I left my soul there, down by the sea. I lost control here, living free. I left my soul there, down by the sea. I lost control here, living free.
Welcome to Every Friday with Dan and Olivia. I'm Dan Miles, joined by our illustrious Tom Bowers. Welcome, Tom.
Tom Whenever.
I was going to say, and I'm Babs Bunny, no relation. That's what we call a 2% joke out there.
2% milk, 2% jokes. Maybe you just gave us our show title 14 seconds in.
You know, I have a thing on my Skype here that says, amongst my contacts, it says, if you have purchased a milk product between 2003 and now, you may be eligible for a class action lawsuit settlement. So, big money, here we come.
If you purchased a milk product in 2003 and also died from milk-related illness in 2003, your descendants may...
Okay, we're obviously, we're overcompensating. We need to just, get on with the thing.
Yes, as you can probably tell, Olivia is not with us at the moment. But before everybody freaks out about it, let me explain what's going on. She was very, very recently offered a role on the CBS series Code Black. The process from hearing about the role to getting the role to walking on the set of that series and shooting was a very, very quick turnaround, like a 24 to 48 hour turnaround. As you heard about it and she's doing it. So she was not able to get with us in time to meet our Friday deadline. So that's the bad news and the reason you're hearing only from myself and Tom. The good news is we expect to be recording a quote unquote proper show with Olivia in the next day or two, which we will be posting immediately. So you will not have to wait until next Friday for your Olivia fix.
Yeah, Olivia is crazy busy right now. Like they say in the show business, you don't have to work, you get to work. And so when the opportunity knocks, you jump at it.
She is like way popular.
And this episode has at least 5 of the 6 words in the title are being fulfilled. It's every, it's Friday, it's with, it's Dan, and it's and it's just missing that one magical word that is Olivia, unfortunately.
We didn't want our subscribers to be disappointed by not having some kind of new show waiting for them on Friday morning. But we also didn't want to do a full-blown episode without Olivia here because, honestly, none of us are really into that. Tom isn't, I'm not, Olivia isn't. I know you guys aren't. I mean, we really need everybody. But this is actually going to be a very significant little brief episode for you, the listeners, and I will explain why. Back on episode 33, Peacock Envy, I posed 3 random questions and invited listeners to respond. And then on episode 38, Rise of the Honey Badger, I shared your answers. Since that proved to be so popular and enjoyable for you and for us, we're going to be doing a variation of that right now. A few little tweaks to it. Last time, I came up with all the questions myself, and I read all the answers myself. So this time around, in order to get my co-hosts more involved, all 3 of us will be submitting one question, and all 3 of us will be reading the answers to the questions. So I'll be reading your answers to my question. Olivia will be reading your answers to hers, and wait for it, Tom will be reading your answers to his. Another difference is last time we all gave our answers as I gave the questions, and we heard the listeners later. This time, we will be giving our own personal answers at the same time as the listeners' answers. So that will be kind of neat. Olivia texted me her question a little earlier today from the set of Code Black. I feel like a TMZ guy. So I know her question. Obviously, I know my question. I don't know yet what Tom's question is going to be. So yeah, I'm eager to find that out. So that's basically this Friday's thing. We're going to give you a little homework assignment. We're going to get you started on coming up with your answers for these questions. We'll be doing at least 1 and probably 2 episodes with Olivia before we read your answers. So keep that in mind. So let's just get right to it. I'm going to tell you my question. Then we'll get Tom's, and then we'll get Olivia's. So here we go. The last time when I was reading everybody's replies, identified everyone by their first name and by the city where you lived. Bill in Baltimore, Susie in Seattle, Henry in Hollywood, etc. So doing that got me thinking about where we all live and why we live there. A lot of people are not living in their first choice of a residence. They may live where they do for financial considerations or family ties or employment.
The folks you just listed right there, they were there for alliterative purposes. Well, my first name starts with the same letter as the name of the city. Guess I gotta go move now.
Yes, I did do fictitious alliteration there. That is very true. I don't necessarily want to get into why you live where you do. But what I want to ask is, if you could live anywhere in the world, in any city, in any country, where would you want to live and why? And I'm going to make a little addendum to that, which is, if you're one of those people who is satisfied where they live and they would not want to move, first of all, congratulations. And second, in your case, I'll just modify the question by saying, if you had to move, if you were forced to move, if you couldn't stay where you are, where would you go and why? So that's my question. Tom.
Yes, my question is, it's partly a question and it's partly a sort of sociology experiment, but I guess the whole thing's kind of a sociology experiment, isn't it?
I guess so. I'm looking at the entertainment value, but it's true. Last time it got interesting.
You're just looking to pad the show, is what you're looking to do, my friend.
Looking to
you're trying to get 2 episodes for the price of 1. That's what you're doing. I know your game.
We got 3 questions. We might be able to stretch the sucker into 3 episodes, depending on how many responses we get. No, but in all seriousness, that's all true. I want the content and the entertainment and the batting, et cetera. But it was a lot of fun last time to hear from our listeners, to be reminded that they're out there listening, and they had really cool answers. So I'm curious to hear what they say. But.
Right. So mine is it's pretty simple, but it has complex underpinnings. I want to know, what is the first album you bought with your own money? Now, the first thing is, there's a demographic slice going on here. There may be some folks in our audience who say, I don't know what you mean by this word album. And I've never paid for music in my life. I've never known a world without BitTorrent or whatever. But that seems unlikely based on what I've seen of the responses we get so far. My point is, the first album you bought, not the first one you borrowed, not the first one you stole from an older sibling, not the first song you recorded off the radio, not the first one you were given as a gift, but you went out and earned the money because there was a thing in that store that you had to listen to immediately and as often repeatedly as possible. And what was it?
Yeah, an interesting thing about that is, and I'm sure this will be the case for most people, and was certainly the case for me, you don't have to really think about it very much. You remember it. I won't say what the album I got was. I will say it was probably 1974. And when we get around to giving our answers, I'll give mine. But, I didn't have to think, because it's kind of a milestone. It's kind of a big deal,
Yeah, it shouldn't be a real head scratcher. It should be something that if you are a music aficionado, it's something that should pretty much leap to mind. And that'll be interesting to find out, the ages of folks, the sort of preferences of folks. And if you have maybe a little story that goes along with that, a little brief anecdote, feel free to share that as well. I'd be curious to hear, live right here on Every Friday, I'm coming up with an addendum to the question, what format did it come in? LP, cassette, CD? I'm assuming it's going to be one of those 3, all things considered. But hey, maybe you'll surprise me.
Yeah, I guess the only other thing it could be, and it won't be this, is flash drive. I mean, there's a very more recent thing. Somebody goes to a concert and they give you like a little flash drive with music on it. I doubt it's going to be that.
Please tell me your first thing was on a flash drive, listeners out there. It'd be awesome to find out that we're hooking into the youth demographic with our fair program.
Well, there is going to be a little slice who went 8-track.
Indeed.
Definitely have. So yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah, you don't need to cover all the bases, but just whatever the first collection of music that you felt you had to own, and you felt it so strongly that you thought it was worth your hard-earned coin. That's the answer I'm after.
So there's mine, there's Tom's. We'll be recapping them at the end here. Now, Olivia's question. Her question is, which is more important to a woman, to be cherished or to be respected? And when I heard this question, I said, well, they don't seem mutually exclusive. I would hope that you would respect someone you cherished. And she clarified, she goes, yes. You can have both, but which is more important? So it's a matter of degree. And, I told her, well, males and females will view this differently. So we agree, for the women listening and the women answering, you answer as yourself on that scale Which would you value more, being respected, being cherished? And feel free to tweak your interpretations and definitions of those words. And it isn't in stone here. Whatever you want to extrapolate from that concept, please share with us. For the men in the audience, I asked her, should I tell the guys to try to guess what a woman is going to say?
Yeah, I was going to say, is this a dude-free zone, this question? Or
well, it's the plight of men everywhere trying to guess what women think and what. And I said, or should I just tell them what would their answer be? What would they value more? And we're not flipping it to women cherishing and respecting men. It's still women are the subject of the question, which is the cool thing about having male and female hosts on the show. She came up with a question I wouldn't have come up with, which is great. I guess we did kind of leave out gay people. So gay people in the audience, once again, handle the question and the answer however you want. And keep in mind, the lady herself, Olivia Dabo, will be reading your answers. She will read all the answers to that question. Tom will read all the answers to the music question. I will read all the answers to where would you live and why. And heck, I think it's going to be a heck of a lot of fun, because last time it was fun, but it was very haphazard. This time we've done it once. And here's the thing I'll tell you. We had a lot of contributors last time. I expect a pretty high retention on that. I think almost everybody who did it before will do it again. But I also had a lot of people who said, oh, I missed out. Oh, next time around. I think we're going to get just as many of those people. And I would not be surprised if when we get the answers in, it does become a 2 or even a 3-parter. So we can leisurely go through the responses and not feel rushed. So
that's right, friends. So don't give away your shot.
No. In fact, here's what we're going to do.
Reference. I've been listening to that soundtrack.
Oh, yeah. Hamilton. Oh, yeah. Okay, so let me tell you how you can send your answers in. And as Tom said, let's not share them publicly. In fact, even furthermore to that, I'm going to compile all the answers myself. I'm not going to tell Tom or Olivia what your answers are until we're recording. I'm going to print out on this ancient Chinese invention called paper. I'm going to print out what I want Olivia to read, what I want Tom to read, and I will hand it to them on the air. So I'm the only person who will know in advance all the answers to all the questions. So it should be more fun for Tom and Olivia too. Bill in Baltimore bought a Boston album.
That was plosive free. Well done, sir.
Okay, so there are really 3 good ways to send in your responses. We have a lot of Twitter followers who've already done this the previous time. If you're one of our Twitter followers, just send a direct message to me at Every Friday Pod. I think everyone has figured out that at Olivia Dabo is Olivia on Twitter, and at Every Friday Pod is me. So if you follow us on Twitter, please send me your answers there. If you're in our Facebook group, I run that thing. I'm very easy to find. Don't post it on as a thread. Just hit me up privately. Here are the answers. And the third way is just to send me an email. And I'm going to ask that people do this promptly, because honestly, I'm going to be in Los Angeles in about a week. And I would like it if the first thing we did when we set up the mics and all do our hugs and hellos and our bro grabs and everything, if we could kick off with this. I think you guys are going to be impatient to hear it. And logistically, I have about a week from you hearing this to collect them, even though it'll be 2 weeks until you hear it. So that's what's going on. Now, even though she was missed today, I feel compelled to point out that unlike myself, and unlike all of you listening, CBS is actually paying Olivia for her time. So we really can't complain about them monopolizing it, at least for a couple weeks anyways. We really can't fault her for working for a living. But I think we can all agree that not having her here with us is a pretty terrible thing. So with that in mind, I'm going to close us out with a pretty terrible song from a pretty terrible musical. Tom, are you familiar with Lost Horizon?
I am not.
Well, it was a film in 1937 that Frank Capra did. And then flipped the 3 and the 7 to 1973, and it was done as a musical by Burt Bacharach and Hal David. And it's kind of a notorious flop. In about 65, 66, whenever The Sound of Music came out, that was a big hit. And they tried to sort of capitalize on the popularity of musicals, but they dragged their heels on it. So by the time 1973 rolled around, it wasn't really in fashion. And it's basically the story of a altruistic type person who's lured somewhere into the Himalayas. There's this Shangri-La. It is a community. There's the weather in amongst these mountains just happens to be perfect. And it's a sort of an isolated place away from everything else. And it's a little sort of dream world. And it was a black and white 1930s film with Ronald Colman. It was a classic. I believe Peter Finch, Liv Ullman, Lee Ullman, John Gielgud, Olivia Hussey, Charles Boyer, George Kennedy, Michael York, those type of people. Burt Bacharach and Hal David, I think it's the last thing they ever did together. And it just went so south that they, just never worked together again. Some of the music isn't too bad. This particular one I picked because it relates to questions and answers. So that's kind of what we talked about today. So I'll leave you with that, with Bobby Van soft shoeing his way through this Burt Bacharach, Hal David, let's face it, disaster. And hopefully you'll be hearing from us in 48 hours or so. Like I said, I can't make any guarantees, but it will be before Friday. We can at least say that much. So thank you for joining me, Tom.
My pleasure, sir.
And we miss you, Olivia. We'll see you soon. And everybody get to work on those questions. Please send me your responses. See you soon.
Question me and answer bright and clear. I will answer with a question clear and bright. Even though your answer may be wrong, my question will be right. Question me and answer. Answer with a question.
1492.
What's the year that Babe Ruth hit his 60th home run?
Wellington and Waterloo.
Who became the hero at the Battle of Bull Run? Learning can be lots of fun. Question me and answer bright and clear. I will answer with a question clear and bright. Even though your answer may be wrong, my question will be right. Question me and answer. Answer with a question.
Midnight Ride of Paul Revere.
What's the way that Yankee Doodle really went to town?
Cleaning up the atmosphere.
What's the reason London Bridge is always falling down? You can learn things from a clown. Question me and answer bright and clear. I will answer with a question clear and bright. Even though your answer may be wrong, my question will be right. Question me and answer. Answer with a question. On the good ship Lollipop.
How did Christopher Columbus sail upon the sea?
Underneath the circus top.
Where did Cleopatra get to be Mark Antony?
They say knowledge makes you free. Let me show you just how I became an educated man. Question me an answer.
Answer with a question.
If you wanna know, if you wanna hear, if you wanna see, question me